Okay, when you start painting your anti-color wheel, you are going to be using watercolors, and each hand is going to be one primary color, and one of the hands is going to be black. So we're going to start by adding a little bit of water to your first color. My first primary is going to be yellow. You don't want to add too much water to your watercolor. You should have a nice thick layer of paint when you're adding it, and you want to only paint it in to the area where it doesn't overlap another hand. As you notice, I am working all in one direction. When I start to run out of paint, I will return to the well to get some more color. I'm not adding any more water to it until the paint has dried out. As I get closer to the icons, I may want to switch to a smaller brush. On the cart, there are detail brushes and there are small brushes, so you can take one of each when you start painting. When I need to paint in small areas, I want to use the right tool for the job. So I want to switch to a smaller brush to work in some of the detail areas. When I go to my small brush, I'm going to fill in some of the smaller areas that I can't get to with a large brush. When I'm ready to start with my next color, I'm going to choose the next primary, which for me is going to be blue. And remember, I am filling in the color only where it does not overlap another hand. If your watercolor becomes too watery, you should dry off the brush and then go back to the watercolor paint and just get paint. Adding too much water is going to make it a big soggy mess. So you want to try and avoid adding too much water. When I need to do the areas where the two colors meet, I am going to mix the two colors, and I'm always going to mix the two colors by starting with the lightest color first. I'm going to put the color that is lightest in one of the wells, and I'm going to make sure that I have enough color to do the areas I need. I'm going to clean off my brush and dry it off. Make sure there's no other yellow in there, and then go into my blue, grab a little blue, and I'm going to mix it in with that yellow. I've made green. It's kind of a yellowish green because there's a lot of yellow and not a lot of blue. So that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that color, and where the yellow and the blue meet, where they overlap, is where I'm going to fill in the color with the two colors that make that color. So because the hand is blue on the bottom and yellow on top, when they're mixed together, it makes green. You may notice that in the palette there is a kind of green, but you should still know how to mix green. So I'm going to take a little bit of green, and where the blue and green meet, or blue and yellow meet, here in the middle I'm going to put a different kind of green. And I'm going to rinse that off. And then I'm going to take a little bit more blue. So I got two different kinds of colors. I'm going to take a little more blue this time, add it to my green to make a blue green. And I'm going to paint that in that spot where it overlaps. So I made three different kinds of greens by mixing a different variety of color. Now to enhance these paintings, I would let the watercolor dry, and I'm doing a technique here called wet on dry, where I'm taking some wet paint and adding it on top of dry. I'm adding the darker color along the edges, and just like we shaded our cylinders, I'm going to blend these colors in to the rest of the color that's there. So I'm adding along the edge a little bit of a darker color. I'm rinsing my brush completely and drying it off on my paper towel. And while it's still kind of damp, just going to pull the color that's there towards the middle so that I'm blending those darker colors into the lighter colors. You'll see that that will soften or round that hand so that it makes it look three-dimensional. I'm going to do this on both of my fingers, and this is a technique that you can use throughout your painting in different areas. So you can see those made those three-dimensional, and now we're going to focus on the icons. The icons you can paint just normally however you like. So I am just going to start adding in color to the icons wherever I want them to be. So for example, in the icons of my family, down in the left corner, I am going to use colors that are true to those characters. So my one daughter is blonde, so I am going to be using the color that's true to that. So I'm going to use some yellow here, and I'm going to add the yellow to her hair. And my other daughter is brunette, so I'm going to go and get some brown. I'm going to add that color to her hair. Remember that if your paint becomes too wet or is too much water, the best thing to do is just let it dry and walk away and go move on and work on it